So this is happening on Mount Everest right now. There's a rescue operation underway after a snowstorm traps almost 1,000 hikers on Mount Everest. It might be related to this. This came out about an hour ago from The Independent. Landslides kill more than 60 people in India and in Nepal after days of heavy rain. I'm sure there's a correlation between those two since Mount Everest is on the border with Nepal and China. It's all in that area, pretty close to India, also the Himalayas. So I'm assuming probably in relation to this incident. Mount Everest rescue operations underway. That is a lot of hikers, man. They've really got to quit issuing all these permits to these climbers that are seeking to summit Mount Everest all at the same time. 1,000 people. Did anybody watch that movie Everest with Josh Brolin and a bunch of other people were in it? It was actually a fantastic movie. It was really good. Came out, I think, in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And in the movie, they were complaining about that. And that was back in 1998. That's when the movie took place, that there was too much traffic going up to the summit of Mount Everest. And this, I'm assuming, is base camp. Way too many people are showing up, all these different hiking teams. And it's because Mount Everest, there's only a small window of opportunity to summit. I think May is supposed to be the best time of year. I'm assuming this time of year is, I'm guessing it's probably the best or second best time of year, something like that. But yeah, there's only, maybe a month or so worth of time that you can summit Mount Everest with fairly calm winds, not constant windstorms and snowstorms, blizzard-like conditions, far below sub-zero conditions. So yeah, they are FAFOing, obviously. So rescue efforts, they're underway on the slopes of Mount Everest after a snowstorm left almost 1,000 trekkers trapped on the mountain, according to Chinese state media. Okay, well, it is Chinese state media after all. However, this isn't the only one I got. Look, from the New York Post, hundreds trapped on Mount Everest by massive storm as desperate rescue effort launches. Do they have the same source? Is it coming from China? Also, I don't really know why China would lie about this. It sounds like kind of a ridiculous thing for China to suggest that's happening if it's not indeed happening. It is a nightmare at 16,000 feet. Okay, well, to be fair, the summit of Mount Everest, it's like, 28,000 feet, maybe 29,000 feet. So doesn't sound like that they're trapped up at the summit. Doesn't sound like that they're in at a certain point where they're in what do they call the death zone or something like that. But anyway, nearly 1,000 adventurers were trapped on Mount Everest after a massive blizzard swept in this weekend as rescue crews struggled to reach the stranded campsite on Sunday. Weekend storms trapped hikers on the mountain eastern face in Tibet beginning on Friday, with heavy snows collapsing tents and leaving many suffering from hypothermia, according to reports. I'm just now seeing this. Like I said, this one came out an hour ago, and it was at the same time that I came across the one from The Independent, which was like 20 minutes ago. So I'm just seeing this. I don't want to make any assumptions. It just has kind of a bad feeling as far as a record number of casualties on Mount Everest type of event. When they're talking nearly 1,000 people, well, like the single worst day or the worst event in the history of Mount Everest, I think, was the event that inspired the movie Everest from 2015 to be made. And it was like, 8 hikers, somewhere around 8, maybe 10 hikers that lost their lives in that snowstorm, that event back in 98. Let's see. Tibet's Blue Sky Rescue Team has managed to bring as many as 350 trapped tourists to safety, but hundreds of others remain trapped by the snow as rescue efforts continue. And this is from the BBC. It's not from Chinese state media, as The Independent is reporting. And of course, jumping back to The Independent, some tourists who were trapped on the eastern face of the Tibetan slopes have now been guided to safety by rescuers, Chinese state media news reported. Villagers and rescue teams have been deployed to help clear the snow blocking access to the area, which sits at an altitude of more than 16,000 feet. As I'm in America, I read feet, I don't read meters, but you can see it. They're 4,900. Okay, whatever, 4,900 meters. Visitors to the remote valley of Karma, which leads to the eastern Kangshung face of Everest, were in the hundreds this week, taking advantage of an 8-day National Day holiday in China. However, heavy snowfall began on Friday evening and continued throughout Saturday. So are these Chinese nationals or Chinese citizens? Is that who's summiting up to Everest? I mean, they're talking about a National Day holiday. It sounds like it might be. The weather forced ticket sales and entry to Everest Scenic Area to be suspended from late Saturday, according to local Tingerie County Tourism Company. Tibet's Blue Sky Rescue Team had received a call for help saying that tents had collapsed and some hikers were suffering from hypothermia. The rescue mission started earlier on Sunday with 350 trekkers reaching the small township of Kudang, while contact with the remaining 200 plus trekkers had been made. China's Central Television, again, yeah, these have got to be Chinese citizens. I mean, that seems to be the most, seems to make the most sense to me. The remaining trekkers will arrive in Kudang in stages under the guidance and assistance of rescuers organized by the local government. It comes as the region faces extreme weather, and neighboring Nepal has been battered by heavy rains, which caused flash floods and landslides, killing 47 people in the last 2 days. I mean, again, back here, it was reported that over 60 at this point within the last hour. That's what they're talking about. So it could be anywhere from 47 to 60, maybe even more than that. 60 might be just the amount that they know of. It could be far more than that. So 35 people died in separate landslides in the eastern Ilam district bordering India, and 9 people were reported missing after being swept away by floodwaters, and 3 others were killed in lightning strikes elsewhere in the country. In China, about 150,000 people were forced to evacuate their homes due to destruction caused by Typhoon Matmo. So is that related to this? I don't see how that would be relevant if it wasn't directly related. So this huge weather system, is it maybe just the remnants of Typhoon Matmo? I would take a wild guess and say it probably is. So anyway, just reading up a little bit more here on the New York Post. Although it has evolved into a popular climbing challenge for tourists around the world, more than 300 have died on the mountain, particularly the area above 26,000 feet known as the dead zone. So definitely sounds like they're not up in the dead zone. They're well below the dead zone. Of course, that's very good news considering what they're going through right now. I mean, look, when I first read the headline and it said that over 1,000 people are trapped on Everest, that immediately came to mind that, yeah, a few hundred people have died on the mountain, but that's in the history of the mountain. Are they talking a situation where they could break the all-time record in one single event? Like 400 people could die up there today? I certainly hope not. I don't know, man. That might warrant them to maybe close the mountain permanently, or perhaps just close the mountain during this time of year where something like this could potentially happen again. The mountain's unpredictable weather patterns and violent storms pose constant dangers for climbers. Last year, a pair of climbers went missing and were believed dead after a ridge collapsed on Everest. Earlier this year, Nepal issued new guidelines that will allow fewer thrill seekers access to the mountain following years of crowded climbing crews that have increased the risk. That's what I'm saying. And that's not anything new. Going all the way back to the 1990s, they've been dealing with the same thing. Again, watch the movie Everest. Now, look, I know it's not a documentary. You can't believe everything that Hollywood's, whatever they tell you. You know, I don't take what they say as the gospel truth, but I'm just going by off of the movie, which I'm sure is reasonably accurate. At least I would hope that it is. The weekend storm has also triggered landslides and flash floods in Nepal, where at least 47 people have died. Yes, we know that, as well as India. 9 people were swept away by floodwaters. So that's what I'm seeing currently. Let me see if there's anything here on YouTube. Everest. I think that might be vague enough. Here we go. Nearly 1,000 people trapped. Not so sure if that's going to be reliable or not. That was 2 days ago. Everest disaster that no, that's probably not going to be it. That was from an hour ago. It's only 20 seconds. Actually, here, let me do this. All right, let me go back. Try this again. We got sound? Hey, there we go.
Trapped nearly 1,000 people on Mount Everest Tibetan slopes. Rescue teams are battling freezing winds and deep snow at 16,000 feet. Some tents have collapsed, and hikers are fighting hypothermia as nature shows no mercy.
Okay, whatever. This looks like just stock footage. Just, I don't know if I'd really call it clickbait, but it's kind of clickbait. I heard what people are doing on YouTube. They're creating these YouTube channels and they're using AI generation techniques. They take something that is developing in the news, such as this exactly. So they'll take a headline that 1,000 people are trapped on Mount Everest slopes. They'll feed it into an AI video creator software, and it'll create an image of hundreds of people that are trapped on a mountain, and it'll clean it up and make it look very realistic. And then they'll put it up on places like TikTok, where it'll say footage of 1,000 people trapped on Everest. And if you pay attention to the news, you know that that's in the news. So a lot of people will funnel over to that video. Plus, it'll get algorithm because it's relevant news, because it's all over the news right now. And yeah, there's been a lot of people using AI to take advantage of that. And I mean, some people have been getting millions and millions of views employing those tactics. So let me see if I can find something else. I was hoping to find some sort of a report besides just random generic stock footage. Maybe not, because it's a brand new story. So rescue efforts underway after 1,000 people trapped.
Rescue efforts are currently
feeling it's gonna be the same thing
Mount
again.
Everest, where nearly 1,000 people have become trapped.
We already got all the gist of that. No footage or anything. Yeah, see, here we go.
Almost 1,000 trapped on the Tibetan side of Mount Everest by a blizzard. Rescue efforts were underway on Sunday to clear access to
Not sure if we're going to
campsites
get
on
anything
Tibet's
new out of
eastern
this.
slope of Mount Everest, where nearly 1,000 people have been trapped by a blizzard that has blocked roads. Hundreds of local villages and rescue teams have been deployed to help remove snow blocking access to the area, which sits at an altitude above 4,900 meters, 16,000 feet.
It doesn't look like he's speaking English to me.
That tent had collapsed due to heavy
Looks like it
snow,
might be-
and that some hikers
looks like it
were
might be
already
getting dubbed
suffering
over or
from
something.
hypothermia. Tingri County Tourism Company suspended ticket sales and entry to the Everest Scenic Area from Saturday. The region is facing extreme
All right, I don't even
weather
know
at
what
the
to make of
moment,
this.
as neighboring Nepal
So
has
far,
been
we've got
battered
all
by
the
heavy
information that he
rains,
stated.
which triggered landslides and flash floods that have
All right, what the hell is going on YouTube? What the fuck, man? Nearly 1,000 people 2 hours ago. Same thing, stock footage. Which we're probably not going to really get anything footage-wise until maybe a few days down the road. An hour ago. Oh yeah, Gaza ceasefire. Hopefully. That's supposed to be happening today. I'm looking at it, and it looks like there might be a decent chance it may not happen, because Hamas is still demanding a seat at the table of the new government, which is it's supposed to be a full stop, no deal from the U.S. and Israel. Still waiting to hear what might happen with that. I've got some info, including, I believe I have a post from President Trump on his Truth Social, which I'll go over in another video. And yeah, I'm not really seeing anything else, at least not here. Let me check Google, see if something might be on here. Probably nothing new. BBC. Trapped nearly 1,000. Reuters, hundreds escape. All right, hundreds of trekkers escaped from blizzard-struck Everest in Tibet. Let's see. Still stranded, hundreds. Tourists trekking in Tibet Valley leading to Everest's east base. Sudden bad weather also hits Nepal, triggering landslides. I guarantee you it's the exact same system. I don't know if it's like a low-pressure system. It might be, again, the remnants left over from that typhoon. Yeah, it's just basically the same thing that I already read. Talking about Chinese state media. So, yeah, man, there you have it. Looks like that's all we got for now, but a lot of people trapped. Hopefully, they'll get out of there okay. Hopefully, the casualties will be at an absolute minimum. That should obviously go without saying.